Hello and welcome. This is Patty Azzarello of Azzarello Group, and I'd really like to thank you for joining our webinar today on leading high-performing teams. This is a topic that I'm really excited about because it's one of those things that you can say it and it sounds like kind of a vague, sure, that sounds great, that's what we need. But what I'm really looking forward to sharing with you today are some really practical ways of thinking about what this means and some really practical steps to achieving it. So for those of you who don't know me, let me just take a minute to introduce myself. Again, I'm Patty Azzarello, and I've had a long career as a business executive in technology. I've been a CEO, I'm also an author and a speaker. And I also like to share that I started my career at the bottom and I started my life in the middle of nowhere. I grew up in a really rural, small farm town in New Jersey, and I ultimately became a Silicon Valley CEO. And so there was not a lot of, there was no clear path. There was no path at all between those 2 points. And so I learned a lot of stuff along the way. And one of the things that I love doing at this point in my career is sharing what works with others. So today I have my own business, Azzarello Group. I've had Azzarello Group for about 10 years now, and I advise companies and executives on strategy and leadership. But I really also have a passion for helping others in their careers, helping ambitious leaders develop, reach executive roles, get the career breakthroughs that are so important to them. And these webinars are part of a program that I call my executive mentoring group. And members of the group get access to lots of tools and resources and support from me to put these ideas in these webinars into action to get their own career breakthrough. And these webinars are also associated with something that I call an executive playbook. And each month there's a new executive playbook. So this webinar today is something that I offer for free to anybody who wants to call in to this live broadcast. I offer this content to be helpful for free. Members get a deeper dive in terms of getting access to the actual playbook. And starting today, there's a new playbook on leading high-performing teams that has specific action steps, templates, worksheets, and scripts to help you do the things you need to do as a leader to get your team going faster, to reduce risk, and to increase performance. And what I'll share with you at the end, for those of you listening in today, even if you're not a member, you can get this playbook on leading high-performing teams for free, because I want to offer that to you because it's a super useful thing. So I start all of these topics, these executive playbooks fit into the success model I describe in my book, Rise, of do better, look better, and connect better. And do better is really where this idea of high-performing teams fits in. It's about being more effective. It's about having more business impact. Increasing performance is always about adding more value and having more business impact, which is something we need to think about for ourselves in our own careers as well as in leading our teams. Look better is about understanding how you are perceived and making sure you're doing things on purpose to build credibility and build positive visibility for your good work. And this is not just about publicity. People and teams with high credibility get more stuff done. You're able to go faster if you have high credibility because people trust you and there are less obstacles. And finally, connect better is about building a network of support for your career and for your work. The most successful people are the ones who get the most help. And so this idea of connect better is really making sure that you have that extra team, you have that network that is supporting what you're trying to do. So this topic in particular of leading high-performing teams is one of the things, it's a main idea in my second book, which is called Move. And in this webinar, I'm going to take you through the MOVE model, which is described in that book, and share with you the key insights about how you need to be thinking about team performance. All of the letters stand for something, and I'll go through each of these in turn. M stands for the middle, O for organization, V for valor, and E for everyone. And if you step back for a minute and you think of, you know, what is leading a high-performing team? What is that? What does that mean? What is that really about? What are the key components of that? A big part of it, the way I think about this is you need if you're going to have a high-performing team, you need a clear, executable strategy that people understand, and you need a team of people that can go do that. They're ready, willing, and able to do that. So high-performing teams are always around this combination of a good, clear, executable strategy and a team that is highly functional. And as a leader, it's your responsibility to make those things happen. And in my experience, these 4 ideas in the MOVE model are how you do that. So what we're going to talk about today is how to lead your team to effectively execute strategy. That's what a high-performing team is about. So I'm going to quickly start by talking about why this is hard, why leading change, strategy, transformation is hard. And then we'll go through the MOVE model. M is about the middle and about how to chart that really clear course that inspires action. O is organization. It's making sure you have the right team that's fit for the business purpose, fit for what you are trying to do. V is for valor. And leadership is for the hard parts. And then E is for everyone. And it's about motivation and engagement on a very true and real level. Because let's face it, if they don't go, you don't go. So engaging and motivating everyone is a big part of the success of a high-performing team. So the reason why this is difficult and the challenges that stack up for us as leaders is that doing new things is hard, and not doing new things is much easier for us as humans. We get comfortable in our patterns. And even if we believe in the change, it's still easier to not do it. And that's just a fundamental thing that we as leaders really have to be focused on. Our job as a leader is to overcome that. So the idea that change is scary, change can be scary, that's not a new idea. You know, we've been hearing about that for all time. But even if you can get people to embrace the change and to not be scared by the change, there's still an awful lot of things that make it hard to maintain that change throughout the whole period of implementing a new strategy or a transformation. And the one first and foremost is people are busy, and doing things a new way takes time. It takes new stuff. It takes thinking, planning, reworking. And there's never extra time, ever. And so it's almost like right out of the gate, this is one of the things that blocks so many strategies from being implemented, is that people are just fully consumed doing everything the old way, And no matter how much they may want to do the new stuff, there's just no time to do it. Skepticism. People think you will change your mind. They don't believe you mean it, because often there are too many visible triggers of the old way. And think about how many times you have been the one in a big strategy meeting and the executive stands up in front of the room and talks about the new and exciting strategy, and your reaction is, yeah, whatever, we never follow through on these things. I'm going to go back to work. I don't need to worry about this, because next quarter, we're not even going to be talking about this anymore. Or next quarter, it's going to be yet another new strategy, right? That is a really common reaction. We've all had that reaction. And so when you are the leader in front of the room and you are excited about your new strategy, you better understand that on its first telling, people just won't believe you. They won't be listening. They won't think you're serious. And they're not going to believe that you mean it and that you're going to stick to it. So that's another role that we face as leaders, as overcoming skepticism. And then finally, it's passive resistance. More people will kill you simply with inaction versus mounting a protest. People are less likely to raise their hand and argue and say, this is wrong, I disagree with this, I'm not doing this. They're much more likely to simply go back to work and do what they were doing before. And that sort of passive resistance is one of the things that, as leaders, we need to work so hard to overcome. And another angle on this is that no one wants to feel like the only one doing a new thing. So if you tell your whole team we're moving in a new direction, if people don't feel like everybody's going, if they feel like they're going out on a limb to support you, they're going to wait it out. They are going to wait for enough visible triggers of the new way before they decide to move forward. And so when you step back and you think of leading a high-performing team, I think it's really important to start by thinking, what are all the things that block performance, right? These are the things that block performance. It's people being too busy, going back to work, doing what they know, and waiting it out because they're not sure they should believe you about what this new thing is about. So let's jump in. Let's jump in to the first part of the transformation model, which is the middle. And this is worth really just pausing and thinking about directly, because it's something that every project shares. Every strategy, every project, every program shares some sort of big buildup to the kickoff. And there's a lot of investment, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of attention. You may have hired really expensive consultants to help you define what that strategy is. And there's just a tremendous amount of focus and investment that goes leading up to the kickoff of your new thing. And then as part of that kickoff, you define the goals at the end. And there's a lot of energy that goes into being clear and defining what the goals need to be at the end. And then you embark into the middle. And the middle is a really long time. And it's where literally everything needs to happen. But what often happens is that middle part is not very well defined, and you embark after the kickoff, and then people are left wondering, well, what happened? Why didn't that work? Why didn't we do that? And the executive sponsors are thinking, what happened to that investment? What happened to that new strategy? This is such a common idea, and we need to be really very aware of this hazard in the middle, because it's a really long time and it's where everything needs to happen. And I have always really loved this particular cartoon. My degree is in engineering. I've done a lot of math in my life, and I have been in this situation so many times where you have the start of the problem and you actually know what it needs to look like at the end, but you have no idea how to get from the beginning to the end. And this idea of then a miracle occurs, that's what I feel like about the middle of so many projects and programs and strategies. It's like we embark and then a miracle occurs. And I also absolutely love the caption here, which is, I think you should be more explicit here in step 2. And to me, that's so profound, because it really is step 2. What is that next thing that you do after the kickoff that ensures that you are going to be moving forward through the entire middle? The middle is the hard part, and it's fraught with obstacles and complacency and boredom sometimes. And that great investment and commitment and interest at the beginning and exciting end goals after the kickoff meeting, everyone goes back to work. And there's another big idea here about the middle, is that when you announce your project and it's going to take a year, for example, nobody's in a hurry, because it feels like you have a long time, and you get to work the next day and it's like, well, that was interesting, but we've still got a year. And then a month goes by and you say, well, we still have that strategy to do, but we still have most of a year. We've got 11 months. And then another month goes by and you say, well, we've still got 10 months to do that. And before you know it, 10 months goes by and you still have 12 months of work to do. And it feels like no one is in a hurry, because it feels like you have a long time. And the other thing that happens is all the short-term activities and pressure are what's favored, because that's already in motion. And these strategic things that you need your team to be working on, they just get pushed into the background because it feels like you have a long time. And the question here, this is the thing that we really need to be on guard as leaders, is this question: are we still doing this? Oh yeah, I heard about that. We announced that a couple months ago. Are we still doing that? I haven't heard about that in a while. Right? So our goals as leaders are every day to do the kind of things that make one less person ask, are we still doing this? And just start doing it. And the way to do this is to take away the mystery, is to take away then a miracle occurs during the middle, and chart a really clear course about what are the things that need to happen in the middle. And one of the things I think that's so important here, and there's an exercise on this in the playbook, is creating a timeline by working backwards from the end. Because if you create a timeline moving forward, what often happens is you don't get there. You run out of time. You know, there seems to be a logical order in which to do things, but you simply run out of time. And let me share a story with you about this, about working with a company to chart this course through the middle and to work backwards to provide a really, really clear timeline. And this was a company that needed to have the new version of their offer in the market in 5 years. Now, 5 years sounds like a ridiculously long timeline in a lot of our businesses, but this particular business was one that involved a lot of third parties across the country, across the world, in fact. And these third-party organizations had to match their timelines to move from the old version to the new version. And so the 5-year timeline was kind of expected. And they brought me in, they thought, to help clarify some finer points of this strategy and help them make some decisions. But I took them on this journey of working backwards from 5 years. And we started, 5 years, it's done, it's out in the world, it's fully deployed, everyone's using it, everyone's adopted this as the new standard. So if that's true 5 years from now, what has to be true 4 years from now? And 4 years from now, it had to be baked, it had to be done, there had to be training, there had to be a rollout plan, and it simply needed that last year for implementation. So if that was done 4 years from now, what's done 3 years from now? Well, it needed to be fully designed, mostly built, and so forth. What happens 2 years from now? All agreements are made, it's resourced, and so forth. And by the time we got back to what happens a year from now and what happens 6 months from now to support this 5-year goal, people were running around saying, oh my God, we're already late. We're already running behind. We have to accelerate a bunch of stuff in the first 6 months if we stand any chance of meeting that 3-year goal, which is absolutely required to meet that 5-year goal. And this is the magic thing that happens when you get really clear about what happens in the middle, particularly if you work backwards, is suddenly you've got a plan. You've got an executable plan that's really clear, and people know what the middle looks like. And that is one of the most powerful things as a leader that you can and need to give your organization, is describing what you will do throughout the whole middle. And again, one of the ideas and resources in the playbook is the strategic planning timeline tool to help you work backwards to make sure you can get to your end point. The other thing I wanted to show you that is a really, really powerful thing is to use a timeline, not as an operational tool, but strictly as a communication tool. And this is another brilliant way to create clarity through the middle. And what you do is you put sort of major marks, major milestones, top or bottom, and then you put the major initiatives on the other side, and you have to fit it on one page. And then you have a red dot, and that red dot says you are here. And it's important that the red dot is not all the way to the left, because if it's all the way to the left, then everything is new, everything is scary, and it doesn't give you a chance to create context. But when you show the red dot already in progress, it gives you an opportunity to create that context. It gives you an opportunity to thank people for the work they've done so far, and then it allows you to stage the future out. And then what you do with this timeline is every week, every time you talk to somebody, every meeting, every all hands communication, you pull out this timeline and you move the red dot, you show the red dot moving to the right. And so more of the things become accomplished, and even more importantly, the things left to do, people see them over and over and over again. And after you show this timeline 57 times, more people will look at the things that are in the second half of the timeline and think, oh, I guess we really are doing that. We're still talking about this. I guess we're really going to have to do that. This is a wonderful way to eliminate that skepticism, and it's a wonderful way to show progress and encouragement, because let's face it, if you're on a project or a program that takes a year or more, sometimes it's hard to feel the progress and feel good about it. But this timeline tool, that lets you show that progress, and it lets you show people that you are serious. The next part of the model is about organization. And simply put, there is no effective antidote for the wrong team. And one of the mistakes I see a lot of managers and leaders make is they treat their management job as, it's my job to make the best of the team that I have, to make do with the team I have, to make it work, and to cover for any issues personally. instead of thinking of their job is, it's my job to build the team that I need. And this is a big idea that is so very important, because there is no effective antidote for the wrong team. And I came up with a metaphor based on an experience I had dog sledding. And I won't tell you the whole dog sledding story, although it's a good one. But what I realized is that an effective, high-performing dog sled team is a team where all the ropes are tight, right? There was a moment when all the dogs were ready to go, but the sled still had the brake on it. And so the dogs were pointing forward, ready, motivated, excited to go, all pointing in the same direction. And in fact, the only reason they weren't already going is because the brake was on, and therefore all the ropes were tight. And that energy just made me think in that moment, that is what you need on your team. And it became my metaphor. I would assess my team and I would say, are all the ropes tight? Because if you're in a sled dog race and one of your dogs sits down, that's not going to be very good for the race. Or if one of your dogs is running in the wrong direction, or one of your dogs likes to just run back and forth and get everybody's else's rope tangled up. Or if you have a dog that's running forward and they're making a good show, running along, but they're actually running just slowly enough that they're not carrying any of the weight. They're just making a good show, like they're moving in the right direction, right? We've all been on teams with people who are exhibiting these kinds of behaviors. So as managers, it is critical that we address this idea and make sure all the ropes are tight. And so the challenge here is that when you're starting a new initiative, a new strategy, a new program, in those first moments, you're starting it with the same team. And that team may or may not be capable of doing the new thing. And so it's really important. Part of leading a high-performing team is understanding what your team needs to, what capability your team needs to have today and into the future, and making sure that you are assessing your team's fitness for what you need to do and where you need to drive your organization in the future. And so this could be skill issues, it could be motivation and engagement. But again, it's about building the team you need instead of simply making do with the team you have, and making sure your team can rise to the future. So there are a couple of worksheets and templates in the Executive Playbook that are so incredibly valuable. I'm excited to share them with you. One of them is how to think through what I call the ideal blank sheet org chart. And this is a way of planning your organization where you don't start with who's there today. You start with what does the organization need to be to accomplish the business goal. And only after you do that, do you start thinking about names and boxes. And then there's another really great template that is the performance management conversation template. And this is a template that the manager and the employee can both fill out before the performance conversation, and then have a wonderful discussion to make sure that you are aligned on this performance discussion, that it's very clear there are no surprises. And these two worksheets I have shared with pretty much 100% of my executive coaching clients that I work with one-on-one, because they're so valuable. And so I'm really excited to be able to include that here in this playbook for you. The ideal blank sheet org chart is foundational. It's so important to building the high-performing team that you need. And then the next idea that I want to share with you is this idea of making people feel like superheroes. I got an email a few years ago from someone who said, Patty, when I worked in your organization all those years ago, I was Superman. And I've never worked in an organization for a leader that made me feel like that before or after. And I thought, wow, that's a great, like, what a great email to get. But I also thought, that's another important metaphor for leading a team. One is, are all the ropes tight? And the other one is, am I making people feel like superheroes? And the things he referenced in that email and the things that when I stepped back and looked at it, that I think create that environment are, number one, build that ideal organization based on people's strengths, get the right people in the right roles. And then these were his words, Patty, you got the crap out of the way. So fix the things that don't work. People, processes, negativity, and this idea of truly creating clarity through the middle. And then when you have high-performing people, give them hard work, clear measures, clear strategy, and get out of the way and let them be amazing. And this has been a really big part of the high-performing teams that I have had the honor to lead. Is I just loved stepping aside and letting them shine and letting them thrive. And as a leader, you get a lot of credit and credibility for building a team that has real stars on it. Never ever feel concerned that people are going to think that people on your team are more impressive than you are. Just, it doesn't matter. And if they think that, the next thought is, well, that means the leader is a good leader because look at the stars on their team. So this was a really big idea in my career, and I think it's super important. In talking about valor, valor comes into play in so many of these leadership instances in overcoming the obstacles to high performance I talked about at the beginning. And first and foremost, are we still doing this? It is really hard to keep an organization focused on doing something new for a long time. Think about how hard it is to keep yourself focused on doing something new and difficult for a long time. Then multiply that by your whole organization, right? So some of the challenges here we talked about, simply people being too busy. And urgent pressures don't go away. Client situations, sales situations, outages, all kinds of things have a way of derailing strategic work. But the one idea I want to talk about here in this webinar is this idea of clarity. And I talked about how important it is to create clarity, but clarity also causes conflict, especially with regard to resources. And so I want to share a story here about an organization I was working with in a program I call Strategy into Action. And we do this backwards timeline. Every time we do this program, we do this backwards timeline. And this organization, it was a technology organization, and they all agreed, if we don't get this new product out in the market by February, it's game over. And I said, what do you mean? And it was an organization in a large company, and if they didn't show the proof point by February, when they expected some competitive moves also to be in the market, literally this division was going to get shut down if they did not accomplish this February goal. So I said, all right, that sounds pretty important. Let's work backwards from February. So we did that. And in working backwards, once again, they realized, uh-oh, we're already running late. We're kind of out of time already. And so what they realized was, if they didn't get 17 engineers working on this new thing within the next 2 weeks, they were never going to make the February timeline. So I asked them, all right, so let's do that. Does this require hiring from the outside, or do you actually have the skills within your organization to do this? And they said, no, we have the skills within our organization. And I said, great. I said, why don't we do this now? Let's reassign people right now, and then you can hit the ground running and don't waste a minute in getting to your February timeline. And they all became silent. And they're like, well, we can't do that. And I'm going, well, why not? And they're like, well, you know, there's HR and there's this and there's processes. And I said to them, hang on a minute. You said if you don't get this done by February, you're going to die. And you said that you have the resources within your organization. And I said, am I missing something? Are these resources within the organization of people sitting here in this room right now? And they said, yes. And then I said, okay, so you need 17 resources. How many, you need 17 people. How many engineers collectively report to all of you right now? And they said about 700. And I was staggered, thinking, why can't you do this? And it turned out that an executive was auditing this meeting. An executive a couple levels up was auditing this meeting, and he walked up to the front of the room and stood next to me, and he said, yeah, I have to ask the same question that Patty just asked. Why can't we get this done today? And as it turned out, there was someone in the room who 15 of those 17 people would have come from his team. And everyone was afraid to say, there they are. It's those 15 people, because that guy's job might be threatened if 15 people were taken out of his team. And so what happened was the executive took that guy outside on a break, reassigned the resources, and gave that guy a new job he was super excited about. He came back in the room with a smile on his face, and we were done. But it was so fascinating to me because literally everyone was more willing to jump off the cliff and die together than to have a clear and difficult conversation about resources and have that uncomfortable conversation out in the open. And this is a particularly dramatic example, I realize, but I have seen this over and over and over and over again, where the strategy stalls because you need to do new stuff. New stuff needs new resources. There are no additional resources, and people avoid being clear about shifting resources because it's an uncomfortable conversation. And there's this thinking like it'll sort itself out in the background without the difficult conversation. I promise you it will never sort itself out in the background without the difficult conversation. It is so very important as leaders to have those resource conflict conversations out in the open and get the new resources assigned to the new stuff, or your strategy will not go forward. It will just stall. And that's why this is in the VALOR section. And so our job as leaders is to create clarity and actually invite and manage that conflict that it causes, because your strategy is where you put your resources. You can talk and talk and talk and talk and say whatever you want about your strategy, but in the end, if you want to know what your strategy is, look at your budget. Your strategy is what your budget says, because your budget reflects what you're actually doing, and that's what your strategy is. So it's so important to work through this productive conflict and create clarity. Finally, the last part of the model here is everyone. And the big idea here is to change how we think about communicating. You know, a lot of times we think about communicating as I've announced the strategy, I've created a presentation, I've delivered the presentation, I've sent emails, I have communicated. We think about broadcast when we think about communicating. What I'd like you to do is think about changing the idea of communicating instead to conversation. And that the idea is you're only communicating if the audience is also talking. And that's your measure for whether or not your audience has absorbed your point. People get engaged when they become part of the conversation. And as we said before, if they don't move, you don't move. So you need to get involvement from people from all levels from the start. And the way that you do that is by having real conversations and by getting the community talking among themselves. And only when that happens are people engaged. So as leaders, it's really important to create opportunities for listening and for unstructured conversation. And there's a really simple, powerful question, which is, what do you think? And so instead of saying, here's the strategy, please submit your plans, which is a very structured broadcast communication, you would say, here's the strategy as we've thought about it so far. What do you think? And by creating that conversation, that's the basis of actual engagement, because people have to engage to answer that question. They have to decide what they think, and they have to speak about it. And so it's such a powerful, powerful question. I actually did a TED Talk last year that was basically about this question. It was called Reclaiming Humanity at Work. And the whole talk centered around the power of simply asking, what do you think? And creating the right kinds of conversations in business. Another idea that is really important in this E equals everyone section is this idea I call decorate the change. Make the change visible in the environment. Because another reason people are skeptical, another reason people say, are we still doing this? Is that they come to work when you're trying to do the new thing. And if nothing looks different, there's no visual triggers to support that you're doing things differently now. So part of decorating the change can be the t-shirts and the coffee cups and that sort of thing. But the other important part of decorating the change can also simply be the conversation. Because if people see that conversations are happening on a regular basis, that's a visible change. And I've seen organizations go from stuck to moving forward simply by scheduling conversations on a regular schedule about the new thing that they want to happen. And so in the playbook, I've given you a script that I use with my teams to drive unstructured conversations around strategy. And it starts with, what do you think? What do we collectively think as a team? What do we think is hard about this? What about this scares us? What risks do we think there are? What would we have to believe in order for this to be successful? There's a bunch of good conversation starters, good unstructured conversation starters in this script, in the playbook, that I think it is just so vitally important to be talking about these things amongst your team. So a few things to take away here. Don't underestimate the difficulty of the middle. Every project has a middle. And as a leader, you need to be aware of the hazards and clearly guide your team through. Number 2, organization. There is no antidote for the wrong team. Build the team you need. And number 3, you don't get there if you don't truly engage people. And engagement is personal, and it happens through unstructured conversation. And all of this requires valor. So the final thought here is, as a leader, you need to be prepared to consistently lead your team through the whole middle. And the MOVE model gives you the insights and a checklist for how you can do that. So I want to talk quickly now about putting these ideas into action by using the executive playbook. So it's about going faster, removing risk, building trust, increasing confidence, and reducing stress. So in this playbook, You'll get more information to understand the 4 key aspects of the MOVE model and how to apply them in your team. And we also have exercises in there how to just apply them for yourself, because we all personally have long-term initiatives that we are trying to accomplish as well. And I use these tools just for myself all the time. They're tools for how to create clear timelines and measures, a template to design your ideal organization, scripts for effective performance management and conversations, and scripts for effective unstructured conversation about strategy. So there's lots of good stuff in this playbook. And the way that you get these playbooks are becoming a member of my executive mentoring group. And I do this so that I can be your mentor. And this group has given me the opportunity to mentor and help people on a much broader scale, which is something I really, really care about. So just briefly, what the membership includes, in an annual membership, there are 12 executive playbooks. A new one comes out each month, and you get access to all of them that are in the library already when you join. And then the additional tools, templates, system, structure, reminders. And I have priced this at $269 for a whole year. I wanted this to be something that was easily sellable to your company as a development program to get reimbursement for, and if not, something that was a doable price for an individual as well. And I'll let you know that it's about half and half in terms of people in the program who are paying for it themselves versus having their companies pay for it. I've taken a couple of screenshots. If you go explore the program, some of the things that you'll see on the website is a description of what's inside an executive playbook, and the idea that there is live coaching with me included in the program. And here's an example of, if you're exploring the Leading High Performing Teams playbook, each playbook has 4 key insights, and there's a video that's a couple of minutes. And when you go to the website, you can explore the playbooks, and the playbooks fall into my model, as I said at the beginning, of do better, look better, and connect better. And here are some examples of some of the other playbooks that are in the member library: on Make More Time, on Mastering Executive Communications, Executive Presence, Authentic Networking, Mentors and Sponsorship, Influence and Matrix Management. There's lots of good stuff in there. And as you go there and explore, for example, if you click on Make More Time, you'll be able to watch some videos and explore the other playbooks as well. This preview site is actually really pretty cool because there's probably at least an hour of just free video content. So if you're not sure you're interested in becoming a member, but you'd just like to get some insights, you can go to the preview page and you can just watch all the videos, and you can learn a lot for free just from the free videos. I'll give you the link later, but if you're dying to get there now while you're listening, just simply go to pattyazzarello.com and you'll find all of this preview stuff there. So let me share a little bit about some other additional upcoming executive playbook topics. The next one is strategically thinking about your career, critical business conversations, working and managing remotely, which is a super popular topic on our coaching calls, personal brand tune-up, developing strategic habits, and building trust and credibility. And so the way this works is each month there's a live playbook. And for October, the live playbook is on leading high-performing teams. But you don't have to follow our timing. If you're interested in a different playbook, all of the playbooks are self-paced, all the information is there, and you can click through the weekly insights. You can binge watch if you want and do it all in one day, or you can just watch a couple and do everything on your own schedule. But each month, the Executive Mentoring Group goes through a particular playbook, And the idea here is, how do you get from here to there? Is my team performing at my best, and what can I do about it? And at the end of this playbook, the idea is go faster and have less risk. And I have a framework and specific ideas to increase performance. So you get the system, you get the tools, and a streaming webinar, an MP3 audio, worksheets, templates, scripts. You get the structure, weekly reminders, specific goals and tasks, scheduling ideas for how to put these things to action in your own calendar. And then finally, support through coaching hour sessions with me, where you can ask me your direct questions and I can provide direct mentoring to you. And it's been really pretty cool in these coaching hours that even though it's a group coaching session, we pick up conversations from month to month, and people will come back and say, oh, okay, I did that worked, now what's the next step? And it's wonderful for me to be able to provide that mentoring, not just kind of in a random Q&A, but in an ongoing way to people who are pursuing a particular goal. So I've created a curriculum. I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've figured out what are the most useful topics and tools to help people get their career breakthroughs. And based on my own experience and the many successes of members over the past 10 years, I've come up with a curriculum that I'm really, really excited about. And what I'm so excited about is when I see members get their breakthrough. Because I remember I've been stuck at times in my career, and I've heard no more times than I've heard yes. But I figured it out. I got there, I know it works, and I do this program to share all the secrets. And this is really about making your life better, is getting what you want in your career with less stress and having more happiness, getting the recognition, opportunities, feeling more confident, struggling less, and being happier in your life. I believe that everyone has a life outside work that really matters, and that's a big part of this program as well. So just a couple of quick stories. Ben was somebody who really made a breakthrough in the Do Better section, where he was outstanding in his work. In every way, he was outstanding, but he realized that he needed to reframe his work to maintain his sanity and to be able to add more value. And this program helped him do that. In terms of the question of, is this a generic program? My situation is unique. How can this help me? Of course. Everyone, you are unique. Everyone's situation is unique, and that's why I offer the live coaching. And the live coaching is a chance to really personalize this program beyond the exercises and the playbooks and have an opportunity to get direct mentoring from me. Another success story that is in the Look Better, I got an email from Carrie who said, Patty, I got 2 pay raises and a promotion. And when I asked her about it, it was in the Look Better category, where she realized that her work was not being appreciated. She was being taken for granted, and she needed to find a way to positively show her bosses the value of what she was doing. And I just love Carrie's story. So again, the program is available to you. It's $269 for the whole year. And I'm always looking online, I've researched, and the kind of level of content that is in this program, I've seen for up to $350, $400 per month to get the richness of the content in these playbooks and the ongoing coaching support. But again, I do this program because I want to help, and I really wanted to make it more doable. So the price point again is $269 for the year, but you can also get a 30-day free trial. Finally, Colette got her breakthrough on the Connect Better concept. And she was struggling making it to director level because she just put her head down and she was working so hard. And she realized she needed to build that network and sponsorship to help her move her career forward in the way that she wanted to. So again, here's the program. There's a couple of bonus classes that are included at no extra charge on topics that I just found were so important I wanted to share with everybody right away. One is a Ruthless Priorities class, and another one is a class on managing your boss. So if you would like to join, you can go to pattyazzarello.com and you'll find all of the information there to join and to preview the system. Lots of free video that you can watch, and you can learn a lot just from the free video. And if you'd like, right on that page, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial. And that trial will move to $29 a month. Or if you know you want to join, the annual deal of $269 a month is actually a much better deal. So that's available for you as well. And just, I know that there are some like websites where you sign up for a free trial and then it feels kind of like you start getting charged and it's out of control and it makes you nervous. I promise you, you can, if you sign up for the free trial, you can cancel at any time. If you can't figure out how to cancel, just send us an email. We'll cancel it for you. And that's just not something you worry about. My goal here is not to trick you into taking your money after a free trial. My goal here is to deliver a program that you find so valuable that you want to stay around, and you can cancel at any time. But if you know you want to join, the annual is a much better deal. So you'll find this on the website in terms of how the prices stage out and what you get at each level. And again, go to pattyazzarello.com and you'll find all of the information that you need right there.